Has your child ever come home from school with that look on their face? You know the one. A little slump in the shoulders, maybe tears welling up, or sometimes just a simmering frustration that spills out. And they say something like, "My teacher just doesn't get me," or "It's not fair, Miss Davison is always picking on me," or "Mr. Harrison thinks I did it, but I didn't, he wouldn't even listen." If you've heard words like these, you are absolutely positively not alone. This feeling of being misunderstood, or worse, unfairly treated by a teacher, is one of those really common, really painful school problems that children face. And for us as parents, hearing it can stir up so many things inside us, can't it? Maybe protective instincts kick in. Maybe we feel a pang of our own past school frustrations. Or maybe we just feel utterly helpless, watching our child hurting. It's a challenge that impacts their confidence, their view of school, and honestly, it can sometimes strain things at home too, as that school day tension leaks into family time. It's heavy stuff for them and for us. But here at Family Connection Hub, we believe that even the trickiest challenges are opportunities. Opportunities to connect more deeply with our children, to teach them valuable life skills, and to strengthen the bonds that matter most. So, in this time together, we're not going to just dwell on the problem. We're going to gently explore why this happens, and more importantly, compassionate, practical ways we can understand it, help our children navigate it, and hopefully, ease some of that hurt and frustration. We're going to look at this not as a battle to be won, but as a situation to understand and work through, together with our children. And the very first, most fundamental step in helping our child when they feel this way, it's something deceptively simple, but so incredibly powerful. It's all about how we listen. So let's really dive into that first idea, the bedrock of responding to our child's distress, the power of deep, empathetic listening and validation. When your child comes to you feeling misunderstood or unfairly treated, their world feels a little shaky. Maybe they felt unheard in the classroom. Maybe they felt judged. Whatever the specific situation, their immediate emotional need is often to feel heard and understood by the most important people in their lives, you. It's so tempting in that moment, isn't it? To jump into problem-solving mode, to immediately want to call the teacher, or to tell your child, well, maybe if you hadn't been talking, or even, bless our hearts, to minimize it with a quick, "Oh, I'm sure it's fine, sweetie. Don't worry about it." Our intentions are good. We want to fix it or make them feel better fast. But often, what they need first is simply for their experience and their feelings to be seen and acknowledged. Think about it from their perspective. They've just spent hours at school, maybe building up this feeling of frustration or injustice. They walk through the door, they look at you, and they share this vulnerable piece of their day. If they're met with immediate solutions, dismissal, or questioning of their version of events, it can unintentionally reinforce the very feeling they just described. The feeling of still not being understood, even at home. So, the actionable part of this first step is about creating a space where they can safely share, and then truly listening with your full presence. What does that look like in real life? Well, it's not always easy, especially if you're in the middle of making dinner or rushing off to an activity. But even taking just 2 minutes, truly focusing, can make a world of difference. Imagine your child comes home, throws their backpack down and mutters, "School was awful. Mrs. Gable hates me." Instead of asking why immediately or refuting the hates me part, you might take a breath. Get down to their level if they're young, or sit beside them if they're older. You could say something like, "Oh, honey, awful? That sounds really tough. Tell me about it when you're ready." Or, "Awful day, huh? I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm here to listen if you want to talk." Then, when they start to share, practice active listening. This means nodding, making eye contact, If that's comfortable for your child, some prefer not to make eye contact when they're upset, and that's okay. And using small verbal cues like uh-huh or go on. It means trying your very best not to interrupt. It means really hearing the feelings behind the words. Once they've shared a bit, you can reflect back what you've heard, focusing on the feeling. This isn't about agreeing with their interpretation of the situation, but about showing you understand their emotional experience. You might say, "So it sounds like you felt really frustrated and maybe a little singled out when Mrs. Gable said that about your handwriting in front of everyone?" Or, "Wow, feeling like the teacher didn't believe you about who started the talking? That must have felt really unfair." Notice the language here. It's not Mrs. Gable was unfair, it's that must have felt really unfair. We're validating their feeling, not necessarily endorsing their exact interpretation of the teacher's actions or the situation itself. This distinction is subtle but crucial. It helps your child feel heard without you immediately having to take a side you might not fully understand yet. Think about a specific example. Your child says they got a bad grade on a test because the teacher didn't explain it properly. Your first thought might be, "Did you pay attention? Did you study?" But if you pause and listen, they might elaborate. "She rushed through it, and then she gave me an F. And when I tried to ask a question after class, she just said she didn't have time." In that moment, you might say, "So, you felt like you didn't understand the material, and then you got a grade that felt really disappointing. And on top of that, you felt dismissed when you tried to get help?" That sounds like a really frustrating sequence of events. This kind of listening builds trust. It tells your child your feelings matter to me. Your experiences at school matter to me. Even if I can't fix it instantly, I'm here to witness it with you. This connection is the secure base from which you can both then approach the problem more constructively. It's not about letting them vent endlessly without moving towards understanding or solutions, but it is about making the listening phase the non-negotiable first step. It might take time, especially if your child is initially resistant or just grunts. Be patient. Keep offering that space, that calm presence. And here's a key part of this listening stage. Try not to immediately offer solutions or problem solve. When someone is hurting, advice, even well-meaning advice, can sometimes feel like a barrier to simply being heard. Wait until they seem to have gotten it all out, or until they perhaps ask, "What should I do?" Then you can gently transition to thinking about the situation more fully. Because once we've truly listened, once our child feels that fundamental security of being heard by us, our natural next step is to try and understand the situation more completely. And that leads beautifully to our second key idea, moving beyond just the initial complaint to gently gather more information and understand the broader perspective. Okay, so we've done that vital, deep listening. Our child has shared their frustration, their hurt, their feeling of being misunderstood. We've validated their feelings. Now we need to try and understand what actually happened as clearly as possible, from their point of view first, before making any moves or forming final judgments. This isn't about cross-examining our child or making them doubt themselves. It's about helping both of us get a clearer picture of the situation, which is essential for figuring out the best way forward. Often, children share their strongest feeling first. "She hates me," or "it wasn't fair." But the actual events that led to that feeling can be a bit fuzzy in their minds, especially when they're upset. So the actionable part here is to become a gentle detective, focusing on clarifying the facts as your child remembers them. This is usually best done after the initial storm of emotion has passed. Perhaps later that evening or the next day, when things are calm, you might start by revisiting the situation gently. "Hey, remember how upset you were yesterday about what happened in math class with Mr. Henderson? Would you feel up to telling me a bit more about it now?" This gives them agency and control over when and how they talk about it again. When they're ready, ask open-ended questions focused on the sequence of events and specific actions rather than interpretations or judgments. Instead of, "Why was Mr. Henderson so unfair?" you could ask, "What happened right before Mr. Henderson said that?" Or, "Can you walk me through exactly what happened from the moment you sat down for math?" Or, "What was the rule Mr. Henderson mentioned?" Or even, "Were other kids doing the same thing? Or were you the only one talking at that moment?" These kinds of questions help your child recall specifics. They might initially say, "Everyone was talking," but with gentle probing, they might remember, "Well, Liam whispered something to me, and then I whispered back, and then Mr. Henderson looked right at me." This doesn't invalidate their feeling of being singled out, but it adds context. It moves from a global statement like, "The teacher is unfair," to a specific incident like, "I got caught talking after someone else started it, and I felt it was unfair that I was the only one addressed." It's also helpful to understand what the child did or said in the situation. How did you respond when the teacher said that? Did they explain their side? Did they shut down? Did they get defensive? Their reaction is a part of the picture too, and understanding it can help you both think about alternative ways they could respond in the future. Another angle in gathering information is considering the broader context of the classroom and the teacher's perspective. Even if you don't have it directly yet, you can think out loud with your child in a non-judgmental way. It sounds like Mr. Henderson was feeling pretty frustrated with the noise level today." Or, "Teachers have to manage a lot of different kids all trying to talk at once, don't they?" This isn't making excuses for the teacher if they were unfair, but it's introducing the concept that there are multiple people and factors in any given situation. It helps your child start to develop perspective-taking skills, which is incredibly important. Let's take another example. A child feels a teacher is unfairly strict about classroom rules, perhaps about when they can get a drink of water. Instead of just saying, "That teacher is mean," you could listen, validate their feeling of thirst and restriction. "Ugh, that would be annoying when you're really thirsty," and then gently gather information. "What's the rule about drinks? When are you allowed to get water? Did anything happen right before you asked for water? Does the teacher have a signal or a specific time?" Understanding the actual rule and the context, e.g., "They just came in from recess," versus "It's the middle of a quiet lesson," is crucial. The goal of this information gathering phase isn't to find fault, either with the child or the teacher. It's simply to move from a vague feeling of injustice to a clearer understanding of the specific incident or pattern of interactions. This clarity makes everything else easier. Deciding if communication with the teacher is necessary, figuring out how to talk to the teacher if it is, and most importantly, helping your child understand the situation and their role in it more clearly. Because sometimes, with a clearer picture, you might realize that the teacher wasn't being unfair, but perhaps misinterpreted something, or was enforcing a rule the child didn't fully understand, or the child's own actions contributed to the outcome. And other times, the clearer picture confirms that your child's feeling of being misunderstood or treated unfairly seems valid. Having this better understanding is the bridge to our next step, which is deciding when and how to communicate with the teacher, approaching it not as an accusation, but as a collaborative effort to support your child. So, we've listened deeply, we've helped our child feel heard, and we've gently gathered more information to get a clearer picture of what happened from their perspective. Based on that understanding, we might decide that reaching out to the teacher is the right next step. This can feel daunting, can't it? It's easy to go into protective parent mode, feeling ready to advocate fiercely for our child, which is natural and good, but approaching the teacher with a collaborative spirit rather than a confrontational one is almost always the most constructive path. Think about it. Most teachers genuinely want what's best for their students. They are professionals who are managing a classroom full of diverse personalities and needs. Sometimes, they might be unaware of how a particular interaction landed with your child, or they might have a completely different perspective on what occurred. Coming in hot with accusations or demands is likely to put them on the defensive immediately, shutting down the possibility of a productive conversation. The goal of communicating with the teacher should be to share your child's experience and your concerns. Listen to the teacher's perspective and work together to find ways to help your child feel more understood, supported, and successful in the classroom. It's about partnership, not pitting yourself against them. How do we put this into action? Start by requesting a meeting or a phone call rather than trying to have a deep conversation during a busy drop-off or pickup time. An email is often a good way to initiate contact. In your email, state your purpose clearly and calmly. Something like, "Dear Mr. Miss Teacher's name. I'm writing because child's name has shared that they are having some difficulty feeling understood in class lately." Specifically regarding, mention the general area, e.g., classroom participation, feedback on assignments, interactions during X time. I would appreciate the opportunity to schedule a brief call or meeting at your convenience to discuss this, share our perspective, and understand yours, so that we can work together to support child's name. Notice what that doesn't do. It doesn't blame, it doesn't accuse, and it doesn't demand immediate action. It opens the door for dialogue. When you meet or talk, remember that supportive older friend persona you're cultivating even outside this video. Start by expressing your support for the teacher and your desire to work together. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me. We really appreciate everything you do for the class. Then, share your child's experience and feelings using I statements and focusing on your child's perspective, not stating it as absolute fact about the teacher's character or intent. You could say something like, "Child's name mentioned feeling quite discouraged after receiving the feedback on their last writing assignment. They felt unsure what they could do differently to improve, and it left them feeling a bit misunderstood about their effort." Or, child's name shared that they felt singled out during the class discussion yesterday when X happened. From their perspective, it felt unfair. After sharing, pause and genuinely invite the teacher to share their perspective. "We wanted to share how child's name experienced that, and we'd really love to hear your perspective on what happened and how things are going for and child's name in that area." Listen attentively to what they say. They might explain the classroom context, the specific behavior they were addressing, their intention behind their words, or other dynamics you weren't aware of. Your role here is to listen and understand, not to argue their points, at least initially. There might be a misunderstanding you can help clarify. There might be a pattern of behavior from your child that you weren't fully aware of. Or, you might hear something that confirms your child's experience and highlights an area where the teacher could adjust their approach. A most productive part of the conversation is shifting to solutions. Given child's name's experience and your perspective, what are some ways we could work together to help child's name feel more comfortable asking questions? Or, how can we help child's name better understand the feedback they're receiving so they feel encouraged to improve? Or, is there a strategy we could use in class or at home to help child's name feel more seen and understood? This collaborative approach requires patience, respect, and a willingness to see the situation from multiple angles. It's not always easy, especially if the teacher's perspective differs greatly, or if you still feel strongly that your child was mistreated. But starting from a place of partnership maximizes the chances of a positive outcome for everyone, especially your child. Sometimes, despite your best efforts, a conversation with the teacher doesn't fully resolve the issue. In those cases, you might need to consider involving school administration, But even then, documenting your calm, collaborative attempts to work with the teacher first is crucial. Ultimately, the aim of this step is to bridge the gap, to ensure the teacher has a fuller picture of your child's internal experience, and to enlist them as an ally in helping your child thrive. And while navigating that adult conversation is important, there's another incredibly powerful piece we hold as parents: equipping our children themselves. That's the fourth key idea we'll explore. So we've listened, we've sought to understand, and perhaps we've had a calm, collaborative conversation with the teacher. All of these are vital layers of support. But there's another layer, one that builds resilience and capability in our children for the long term, and that's empowering them with skills to navigate feeling misunderstood or unfairly treated. We can't always be there to step in. Our children need to develop their own voice, their own understanding of how to handle difficult interpersonal situations, especially with authority figures. This doesn't mean leaving them to sink or swim. It means equipping them with tools while we are their safety net. The actionable part of this step is about teaching them awareness, communication skills, and healthy coping strategies, tailored to their age and the specific situation. First, help them articulate the specific issue and their feeling in a calm way. Remember how we helped them move from "teacher hates me" to "I felt singled out when"? We can teach them to do that themselves, or at least to communicate it to an adult, us, or another trusted person at school. You can practice phrases with them. "Mom, Dad, I felt really frustrated today when," or "Could we talk about something that felt unfair?" This helps them communicate their needs and feelings effectively. Second, help them understand the why behind rules or actions, even if they disagree with them. While validating their feeling of unfairness, you can gently guide them to think about the teacher's possible perspective, or the reason for a rule. Even though it felt unfair, the teacher has a rule about talking during lessons because this isn't about saying the teacher is always right, but about fostering perspective-taking. Third, role-play potential interactions. This is particularly helpful for younger children or those who are shy. If the issue is feeling misunderstood about why they did something, practice what they could say. "Mr. Ms., teacher's name, I know the rule is X, but I just wanted to explain why I did Y." Or, "Could I talk to you for a minute about the feedback on my assignment? I tried really hard on Z, and I'm not sure I understand why I missed points there." Keep it simple and focused. Help them understand when it's appropriate to speak up respectfully and when it's better to process and talk to you later. For example, interrupting a teacher in the middle of a lesson probably isn't the best time to challenge perceived unfairness, but approaching the teacher quietly after class might be. Fourth, teach them healthy ways to manage the frustration, anger, or sadness that comes with feeling misunderstood. This could be talking to a friend or family member, writing in a journal, drawing, exercising, or practicing simple mindfulness techniques. These are lifelong skills that go far beyond school problems. When you felt that rush of anger about what the teacher said, what could you have done in that moment that would feel better than yelling out? Help them brainstorm alternatives. Fifth, emphasize what is within their control. They can control their effort, their attitude, how they respond to a situation, even if they can't control the situation itself, and how they communicate their feelings. Focusing on agency can be incredibly empowering when they feel powerless. Let's use an example. A child consistently feels their teacher gives them lower participation grades, even though they feel they contribute. You've listened, maybe talk to the teacher, and understand the teacher is looking for specific types of contributions, e.g., asking clarifying questions versus just sharing opinions. Now, empower your child. You can practice with them. Okay, next time in class, if you have a thought, before you say it, think, "Is this just my opinion?" Or is it a question that helps everyone understand? Let's try saying things like, I have a question about, or could you explain more about, or help them track their own contributions and discuss them with you. This shifts the focus from the teacher is unfair to how can I demonstrate my understanding and participation in the way the teacher is looking for. Another example, a child feels a teacher is unfairly strict about tardiness. Maybe they were only seconds late because the hall was crowded. You listen and validate. That's annoying when you hurry and still feel like you get in trouble. You might gather information. Was there a specific consequence? What's the actual rule? Then you empower. Okay, we know the teacher is strict about the bell. What's one thing you can do starting tomorrow to make sure you're in your seat, even a few seconds earlier? Maybe pack up before the bell, or leave your previous class 30 seconds sooner. This is about helping them find proactive solutions within the boundaries that exist. Empowering our children doesn't mean they have to handle everything alone. It means we are their coaches, helping them build their muscles for navigating the world, knowing we are always on the sidelines, ready to support and cheer them on. These moments of feeling misunderstood, while painful, are rich opportunities to teach resilience, self-advocacy, and emotional intelligence. All of these ideas, listening deeply, gathering understanding, communicating collaboratively when necessary, and empowering our children, they aren't separate items on a checklist. They are layers of support, woven together to create a strong safety net and a pathway forward for our children when they face challenges like feeling misunderstood or unfairly treated at school. Parenting is a journey, isn't it? A beautiful, messy, challenging, incredibly rewarding journey. And navigating school challenges, like our children feeling misunderstood by a teacher, is just one of the many complex landscapes we walk together. There won't always be simple answers. Some situations are trickier than others. Sometimes, despite our best efforts, things might not resolve perfectly, and that's okay. Our goal isn't always to fix every instance of perceived unfairness or misunderstanding for our children. Our deeper, more lasting goal is to be their anchor, their confidant, their guide as they learn to navigate the world, its complexities, and its relationships. When our children feel unheard, our role is to be the one who hears them most clearly. When they feel misunderstood, our home is the place where they are most deeply known and accepted. When they feel powerless, we help them find their voice and their strength. These moments of difficulty aren't failures in our parenting or our child's schooling. They are opportunities to model empathy, problem-solving, patience, and resilience. They are chances to show our children, through our actions and our presence, that challenges can be faced with courage and connection. You are already doing so much just by caring enough to think about how to support your child through this. Your willingness to listen, to understand, to communicate, and to empower is incredibly powerful. Trust your instincts. Lean into the connection you have with your child. And remember that showing up for them, even when you don't have all the answers, is what matters most. Thank you for spending this time with me, exploring these ideas. If anything we've discussed resonated with you, if you found a glimmer of hope or a practical idea to try, please consider sharing this video with another parent who might be facing a similar challenge. Giving it a like lets me know this type of content is helpful for you. And if you haven't already, I would be so honored if you'd subscribe to the Family Connection Hub. Joining this community means we can continue to learn and grow together, supporting each other through the beautiful, sometimes messy, journey of raising connected, resilient children. Until next time, keep listening, keep connecting, and be gentle with yourself. You're doing wonderful work.